And we are live. Welcome to the Know Yourself Revolution Live. My name is Grace Gravestock, and today we're going to find out how to remove what's blocking you. I know that I've had a lot of conversations with people in my community recently, and a lot of people feel like there's something that's keeping them from their success, keeping them from moving forward, keeping them from attracting the abundance that they know is truly theirs. If this is you, you are not going to want to miss this amazing conversation with Jen Reimund. She is a holistic transformational coach, and I'm excited to welcome her to the show. Welcome, Jen. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about her in just a second. Thanks for being here, Jen.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Grace, for having me.
Absolutely. So we are going live on a couple different platforms. So if you have any questions, by the way, as we talk, please feel free to put them in the chat. We might get questions from YouTube, from LinkedIn, and from Facebook. So Jen Reimund is an IACT-certified hypnotherapist, a breathwork coach, an NLP and root cause therapy practitioner, and Reiki level 2 practitioner. Wow. So we'll find out a little bit more about what those things mean in a minute. Jen has a background in healthcare, and her own experience of burnout during the pandemic led her to seek personal transformation through hypnosis and energy healing. And this helped her to get her confidence back, to shed 60 pounds, and reconnect with her family. Now she's dedicated to helping others achieve profound and lasting changes by addressing the root causes of stress and unlocking their full potential. Jen lives near me in Round Rock, Texas, with her husband and her 2 daughters, and they've been over to our house, and we've had some fun times together. So I really believe in Jen. I believe in her message. I believe in her work, and I'm sharing it with you today because I believe it can help you. It can really support you in this time of change that we're all going through. So we're going to talk about how to remove what's blocking you, and I've got a couple other questions for you. So Jen, thanks again for being here. I'm so excited that you're part of the Know Yourself Revolution.
Yes, I'm so excited too. Yeah. So as far as blocks.
Hold on just a second. Before we jump into that, let me just and I should have given you a little bit more of a heads up. Before we jump into this, I want to show you something real quick about Jen's profile, her human design. And the reason that I want to share that with you before we jump in is because, it's one thing for somebody to say what they do, and there's a lot of healers, there's a lot of people out there, and everybody has good intentions, but I think that it's so much more powerful when you can see in somebody's chart who they really are and what they're really here to do. And so that's my intention to share Jen's chart with you today. I want you to just see what it looks like, and I want to give you the option to get your own chart as well if you're interested in that. And I'm going to give you the URL for that in just a second. So before we get too far down the path, I want to show you, if you get your chart at whatsmychart.com. Actually, let me put that in the chat. Just a second. Yeah, here you go. Get your free chart and find out what work you're here for at whatsmychart.com. If that doesn't come up for you, put https:// It depends on your browser. But anyway, I want you to be able to get yours if you haven't already got yours. What you're going to get is the 4 most important things that you will want to know about your purpose and about living on purpose. And so right now we're looking at Jen's chart, and what I want you to see is that everyone has codes. You see, this is very mathematical. There's a lot of numbers, and it's kind of like we're each little Wi-Fi signals, big Wi-Fi signals running around, and we're broadcasting stuff and we're receiving stuff. And if you've ever been, I know you have, you walk into a room, or you're in a room and somebody walks in and they're really upset. Everyone knows instantly that they're really upset, right? You don't even have to exchange words. And why is that true? It's because you're broadcasting and they're broadcasting, and your energetic field picks that up. So that's what we're looking at. We're looking at Jen's energetic blueprint. So this is what she looks like on an energetic level. And what's interesting to know is that she is super intuitive. And I mean, there's so many things to know. What I want to focus on today is something that is really has been life-changing for me. And these words at the very bottom, In this case, left angle cross of cycles. We're going to also call it cross of stewardship. This means that Jen is here to master these 4 energy codes. What do they mean? I'm going to tell you the summary in just a minute, and you're going to see why she is uniquely configured to be and do exactly what she is doing today, and how you can see what you're configured to do as well when you get your chart. So, Jen, I want to point out that a couple things about you. You've got a lot of superpowers. You have the potential to be able to read minds, and you're an empath, and you can feel other people's feelings, right? You can feel them in your, pretty powerful. And so why do I say that? Because I want you to see that she actually has within her field the ability, and we all have our own superpowers, but she is uniquely configured to do what we're going to talk about in just a minute, which is removing blocks from you. And you're going to love when I share with you the summary version. So the left angle cross of cycles, these 4 codes, here's what it is in a nutshell. Jen is here to lead, teach, and inspire others to nurture and protect their dreams and inspirations, to help others initiate the manifestation of their ideas, but encourage them first to complete anything that may be holding them back. Okay, do you get the significance of this? We are talking about how to remove what's blocking you, and this is literally Jen's purpose. So first of all, your purpose is not just one thing, it's a lot of things, but these 4 codes make up 70% of what you are here to be and do. And so this is a big part of what Jen is here to do, is to help people remove blocks. And that's what we're going to talk about in just a minute. Here's a little bit more. She's here to understand the importance of creating space to initiate a new idea, to value and be a steward of new ideas, and to know that the manifestation of an idea is worth the time and effort it takes to bring it forth. To intuitively understand the importance of divine and right timing to bring an idea into form, and to do the work necessary to lay the foundation for the manifestation of a dream or an idea. She is here for diligence. And we can see that in her chart as a builder. She's here to build those things and create that infrastructure through mastery. If you are a builder, you're in the same category as she is. She and I, we're both builder types, and we make up 70% of the world, and we are the workforce behind the world. We are the ones that do things. We're here to do things. We're here to build. And so she is here with to be diligent in doing the work necessary to lay the foundation for the manifestation of a dream or an idea. So how does that help you today? What it means is that if you have a dream or an idea that you want to manifest, you can tell from listening to her who she is and what she does and what she's uniquely configured to do. She is here to help remove what's blocking you. And so we're about to have an amazing conversation for you to find out, now that you can see that this is not only what she says she does, but this is literally what she's configured to do. And this is why she's the perfect person to answer this question for you today of how to remove what's blocking you. So I'm going to stop the share. And while I do that, I want to just give you a minute to respond, Jen. Does that resonate with you in terms of your understanding of who you are and what you're here to do?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Grace, I always love your knowledge on all of this, because every time we talk, like you just give me a new insight, and I'm just like, oh, it's confirmation, you know. I always knew that I had a different purpose than being just the worker bee. And, you know, I got into healthcare initially to help people. And I quickly found out that it's not necessarily that helping people. So it's more of like a cash cow, like, or assembly line at times it feels. So to know that I've found my purpose, it's really nice and confirming to me. And of course, to be able to truly connect and help is a definite plus. Yes.
Absolutely. You know, my premise behind the work that I do with the Know Yourself Revolution is to create a tipping point for humanity. If you've been watching me for a while, you know that I'm here to create a tipping point for humanity through frequency alignment and collaboration with other amazing people like Jen, who are teachers, coaches, healers, and entrepreneurs who share the vision of the Know Yourself Revolution, which is to help us each know, love, and trust ourselves. And we get to lead by example first, by knowing, loving, and trusting ourselves first. So that is because, why? Because we're broadcasting a frequency. So when we love ourselves, when we know who we are, we show up as more confident, we show up as more powerful, the best version of ourselves. And so that's why it's so valuable to know who you are. And like you said, Jen, to get the confirmation, it's very validating to know that is literally what you're here for, and to know that is useful, and it also gives other people the confidence to trust you. And so what we're going to talk about today is removing what's blocking you. And this gets into some sensitive territory for a lot of people. You know, we're going to talk a little bit about hypnosis and some of these, the subconscious. You know, it's a realm that a lot of people are curious about. Not everybody knows that much about it. And so it can be really sensitive. So it's important when you decide who you're going to work with to remove blocks that you really trust that person. I've honestly had a very, I'm not going to say fear-based, but I've had a lot of hesitation, I'm going to say, around modalities that include hypnosis and things like that, because I am very careful about what comes into my field, and I want to stay safe, and I want to be protected, and I don't want to allow someone or anything into my field that's going to affect me in a negative way. And so I share that, Jen, because I feel like a lot of people watching right now are also in that same boat. Oh, I see we have some comments here. Let's just see. Oh, that's cool. Look at this. So I don't know who this is. Cooling Finn says, glad that I found UNN, who introduced me to Grace. She's a builder and she's a networker. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Let's see what else. She says, I realized in my teens that I needed to believe in myself. It wasn't until my 50s that I realized it was my narcissistic family of origin that caused me to not believe in myself. Constant ridicule. Wow. Thank you for sharing, Cooling Finn. I'm not sure who that is, but thank you for sharing. And it's powerful to recognize that we do have conditioning and programming. All of us do. We come into this place, and this ties into what we're going to talk about removing blocks. Because what is the blocks? And you'll share more about it, Jen. But my sense is that this conditioning and programming, the things that we Oh, I'm sorry. Cooling Fan. Sorry, it says, sorry, I'm a he. Sorry about that, Cooling Fan. I wasn't aware. Thank you for being here. So the thing is, we get a lot of what I call conditioning and programming from our families of origin, from our religious instruction, educational institutions, whatever, a lot of institutional stuff, and garbage in, garbage out. And we don't always know what is garbage and what isn't. And when we're young, we pick it up, all of it. And when we're up until the age of 8, I think that we're like well, you maybe more, but I've read that we're like in almost like a hypnotized state where we're just picking up everything. And so whether it's good or bad doesn't matter. We're picking it up because it's in our field, and we're learning how to function in this world that we live in. And so that then affects us throughout our lives, and we aren't even aware of it. And that is what I believe forms the subconscious. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Jen. Tell us a little bit more about what do we need to know here about blocks, about what's blocking us, about the unconscious. Where do we start?
Yeah. So there's so much that I can talk about, of course, but to kind of summarize it down, your primary imprint years are between, there's differences in opinion, but it's like 0 to 7, 0 to 8. And what you're doing at that time, again, as you kind of touched on, you are in a trance-like state at that point in time, because you're taking in all of the information that you're being fed from all of your senses. So when we think about the subconscious mind, it's processing 11 million bits of information from all of our 5 senses, but we can only consciously process 128 bits of information. So 11 million to 128 bits. And when we are young, we're taking in this information as truth. So this could be something that our parents said about money, or something that we heard on the news. So they tend to imprint themselves. And when we talk about trauma in of itself, a lot of people go to thinking trauma is only the big accidents, the abuse, the accidents, or the big events, I guess I should say. But there's also what we call little t traumas. And little t traumas could be as little as, you have this really cool picture that you wanted to show mom that you spent all this time on, and it was like the best picture you've ever drawn in your life up until this point. And you go to show mom, but she is focused in on something else. She might be watching TV or reading a book or talking to somebody on the phone, and she dismisses you and doesn't give you her attention. And when that happens in your little child mind, in your subconscious mind, you are creating what's called a limiting belief. It's something you're believing from that point on to be true about yourself. So that could be something like, I'm not important, or I'm unloved, or I'm not, worthy of my parents' attention. So that implants itself. And then every time it happens from that point on, it becomes evidence to your subconscious mind that I'm not worthy, I'm not important, I'm unloved. So you build this up. It becomes like this neural pathway in your brain. Instead of it being just a little dirt road that I'm not important, it becomes this big super highway. And you're constantly just reinforcing that belief. So you're living your life with this belief in your subconscious mind, and then it keeps you from doing things that you may have, done when you were younger, or it causes you to react in certain ways, or feel certain things in your body because of these beliefs. So I equate the traumas as being stuck in that moment at that age. And we live our adult lives with this trauma imprint from that age. So it's almost like a big adult meat suit being driven by this little 5-year-old self. And when it comes to subconscious mind and conscious mind, it's like having two brains here. But if you've ever seen the iceberg chart, the little tip that's sticking up above the water line is your conscious mind. And that's only about 5% of the reason that you think, react, and feel. And everything below that 95% is your subconscious mind. So you think you are making a goal and, consciously, like, I want to hit, say, 100,000 in a year in my business, but your subconscious mind is really the driver behind everything. So if it's not on board, it doesn't believe that it's safe to hit 100 grand, and this could be for several different reasons, maybe fear of failure or fear of success. If it doesn't believe it in the background, it's going to do everything it can to sabotage you from getting there. So you can really see why this is important.
Absolutely. No, it kind of gives new meaning to the idea of get out of your own way.
Yes. Yeah.
So how do we get out of our own way? I see that we've got people joining us from all over. This is awesome. So it's valuable information. Thank you for being here, Jen. How to get out of our own way? Like, first of all, I want to ask you, like, how do we know what are the beliefs that are holding us back, and then how do we access them to change them?
Yeah. So this is why I do things in a certain way. So, you can work on your subconscious mind and you can work on your conscious mind separately. But if they are not congruent, if they're not on the same page, essentially they're going to reinstall your patterns or reinstall your beliefs. So what's really important with what I do is to make sure that we're going to consciously coach I'm going to consciously coach you to get down to that root cause so that your conscious mind is aware of what you're releasing and on board with it. And then we're going to come back in the background and work on your subconscious mind to release, and then both of them being on the same page, that it releases forever. Because it's not like if you only work consciously, your subconscious mind might be in the background trying to sabotage you. But if you're only working subconsciously, if your conscious mind does not believe that you released, or it's not aware of what released, it reinstalls the program.
Yeah, so that's a little scary. So yeah, how do we avoid that? Reinstalling the program. I think I've experienced that.
Yes.
and I've talked to people who have too, and it's like they get out of their own way and then they get right back in it. So what is the potential for actually making it permanent? Like, how do we do that?
Yeah. So there's 5 primary emotions that deserve to be released, and they deserve to be released in a certain order. So it's anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt. And you can even have those as supercharged emotions too, because, guilt can even turn into shame, fear can turn into, being terrified. So we deserve to really whittle down to what emotions are behind events, certain events, and usually it's going back to that original event and releasing that emotion, releasing the power that it has over you, the emotion behind it. And once you are able to do that, you can release every single event from that first event till now, and then go and check on the future events to see if you still have that emotion there, if it's still supercharged. So that's one of the ways that I do. It's called timeline therapy. So we're subconsciously going back to that original event. We're not reliving it. It's just noticing it as an outside observer.
So we can go back in our timeline and remove the charge. Is
Yes.
Kind of what it sounds like you're saying. So we can remove the charge. That makes sense. And that is not going to, once we've removed it, it's gone, right? There's no way we can mess that one up again.
But yes, and
oh, okay, maybe there is. Tell us more.
Because inner work and personal development, it's like an onion. So you've probably heard this before, but once you start to work on yourself, you start to uncover deeper things. So we're going to start working, and then more things are going to come up in different areas. So yes, we can release for a certain, I will preface it by saying it takes work. You've got to be willing to do the work, because there are several different facets to it. And once you start uncovering, then you really get down to the deeper root cause. And the root cause is what we want. The root cause is going to be the thing that's going to cross-contextualize over several different areas of life. Because even if you wanted to work on, say, business, turns out it might actually be in the area of family or community or spirituality. So once we start to clean up different things, then we will get you to that point to where it's fully released and does not come back.
So how long does that take, and how, like, is it sounds like, because it's an onion, we're looking at like the onion analogy, it's not a one and done. So it's a process. It's going to take place over time. and it's going to be, is it multiple sessions, or how does somebody go about committing to getting this work done, and what is knowing what's involved?
Yeah. So it does depend on the person. Of course, they have to be willing enough to go there. But I do have a 3 and a 6 month package, and I have a year package. So when you get to the 3 month, it's usually we're only releasing 2 to 3 emotions. And then the 6 month, we're releasing all the emotions, but we're also doing kind of a quantum release. It's more of an identity shedding. And then past that, it's if things are possibly being stubborn or stuck. But usually I would say by the 6 month mark, a lot of my clients are to the point where they've had that identity shift.
Okay, 6 months. So it could be a 6 month commitment to really get tractionable results.
Yeah.
And then is there anything else that is involved in making these shifts besides committing to these sessions with you? I mean, is there other things in your life that are going to make a difference, whether it sticks or whether it doesn't, or how fast it goes, or like what are the other factors, if any, to consider in this commitment to transformation?
Yeah, I have several different supplemental things that you can do with this. So hypnotherapy is one of the ones that I do breath work, energy healing. There's journaling exercises. It's really noticing your emotions and taking the time to reframe things in your head so that you're able to rewire your belief system, your neural pathways. Because when you're having that negative self-talk, right? Your negative thoughts, your limiting beliefs, that programming, you're structuring your neural pathway to be living life in negativity. So it's work. I would say it's easy, but it's not always simple, right? It's taking that every single day and noticing, what is this belief from? Where is this negative thought coming from? How can I change and reframe it into a positivity too?
So what I hear you saying is that it's while it might be appealing to think that we can just throw money at it or take a pill or something like that, and can you just go in and erase this, negative limiting emotion or belief or whatever it is, it's not that simple. And so it sounds like it requires first a commitment to transformation, and because it may require investment and getting support, like from a professional such as yourself or someone else, but getting support in knowing how to get to the root cause and how to address it. But it also sounds like you can't just necessarily get the same results if you just show up, you pay your money, you go into these sessions, and you live your life the same old way. Like, that is not going to give you the recipe for transformation that you're looking for, because it requires a rewiring, not just in the sessions and through the breath work or whatever whatever process you're going to go through, but it requires conscious awareness, thinking in a different way, being aware of my emotions, being willing to feel my emotions, for instance, maybe. I mean, those kinds of, is that, and we've got a couple comments here. Cheryl says that point, find it, acknowledge it, find root cause, then redirect. Yeah. It sounds like it's a new way. I love it. New ways of living, working, and being, my hashtag. And then Cassie says, does Jen find it takes more time than more years we've been living? I think she means, like, if you're older, does that mean it's going to take more work?
Not necessarily. I mean, you do have, of course, more years of programming, more years of structuring that highway of neural pathways. But once you start to do the work, it's like building a muscle. So you start to automatically then think in certain ways. And it becomes a lot easier once you're practicing it more. So I wouldn't say it's, if you've had 30 years of thinking a certain way, yes, it is going to be uncomfortable when you're starting to, try to redirect yourself. Yes, but I would say it's the more effort and attention that you put into it, the faster you will get results.
Okay, so it really requires a commitment to transformation. It requires really being serious and deciding, and that's probably what is part of the idea of. I mean, obviously not the only benefit, but when you hire somebody like yourself, you're making a commitment. You're giving the universe an indication, like, hey, I'm willing to commit to this. I'm willing to see it all the way through because I've made an energetic exchange with my money, right? So it's going to be one indication of how serious you are if you're willing to get help. Now, are there ways that you could do it on your own if you wanted to?
I mean, sure. Yeah, you as you're saying, like the energetic behind it, the actual commitment, it's the accountability of, when you're putting money down on something, like there is a buy-in, there is something that you're telling your subconscious mind that this is the thing that we're going to work on, and it's going to have a result, because otherwise then I'm just throwing my money away, right? When you're working on your own, and I will say that there's a lot of things out there that talk about just positive thinking, or just, do a vision board, or, whatnot. It's kind of just the tip of the iceberg. They're just giving you the little bits and pieces. So it took me, like, I looked at those things as well, but it took me to actually fully work with somebody to get really serious about it, to actually really look at it and practice.
I can see why that would be true, because really, to make lasting change, you really need to have accountability. You get to have accountability, right, to hold you accountable. And if you could do it yourself, maybe you probably would have already done it by yourself. So we need each other, like, I mean, I always say you are complete and you are perfectly designed to be and do what you came here to be and do. And it's so funny. I feel like let me share. I want to share my screen just one more time and show you something that's so interesting for everybody here. So if you get your chart and you notice that there's any white in your chart, which in this case Jen has a lot of white, what that means is these are all lessons, and there's a lesson to every one of these shapes, and there's a lesson to every one of these numbers. We call them, gates or gifts. Every single one of them. That's a lot of things that Jen is here to become wise about. What do I mean by that? And what I'm trying to say is that Jen is going to get to learn about all of these lessons in life through relationships. So while you are perfectly designed to be and do everything you came here to be and do on your own, and you don't need anyone else, what you do is you will attract, because of your configuration, other people. And so Jen is going to attract, and I want you to look at your chart to see how this is true for you. Anything that's white in your chart means you're going to learn about that through relationships. Why do I say that? Because it's easy to think that we can go off and just do a bunch of free stuff, or do a DIY plan, or read a book or something. And while those are useful and helpful, there's nothing wrong with it. What part of your purpose in life is to engage with other people and to learn all these different lessons through relationships. So everything that's white in your chart is something you're going to learn about through a relationship. So can you do things on your own? Of course you can. But is there a lot of value in getting accountability and getting, maybe having some hand holding? For sure, it's going to be a faster path. When I talk to people about signing up to work with me to understand their human design, I mean, everybody can go and Google, like, what is my human design or whatever. But if you want somebody to really point out the fast path for you to get to where you want to go, I mean, it helps to have somebody that's already been there and they've already had the questions that you've had. And so getting that accountability and that support from a coach or somebody knowledgeable who's been there and done that already is going to make the difference between it taking, maybe a couple of months or even a day. I mean, you'll make shifts every time you have a session, right? So it's the difference between having a fast path, or if you have a lot of years to work on it and you want to do it the slow path, like there's nothing wrong with that. There's no right or wrong, good or bad in the Know Yourself revolution. It's choice. We get to do things based on desire, not obligation. And it's always our choice. But if it resonates for you to have a faster path, then, working with somebody like Jen, who has the knowledge and she's been there herself. And Jen, maybe you can share a little bit of your story, more of your story about how your journey to find this yourself and kind of what happened for you.
Yeah. So again, I come from the healthcare background. So when COVID hit, which is typically when a lot of people just went off the rails, I would say, it's the big catalyst for a lot of people's transformation. So when COVID came around, I was in a very unsafe, fight or flight response to what was going on around me, because I didn't know if this, of course we didn't know what it was when it first came out, but I also didn't know if this was going to be something I brought home to my elderly grandma and ended up, ending in her demise, or bringing home to my kids or my husband, or, if it would take me out. So it's a very scarcity mindset. And so I was living with digestive issues. I was, of course, already having confidence issues at that point, and also having panic attacks at work to the point where I thought I was going to pass out. And having one panic attack, you don't really know what's going on, but you dismiss it. Having that second one, I was like, all right, look, we can't be having these at work. This is not going to work for me. So I looked into doctors. I got blood work done for all of the things that were happening. And essentially they all told me that I was fine, that, nothing was wrong. And I knew something was deep down wrong. So I actually happened upon a podcast where somebody had their guest speaker on as a hypnotherapist. And being the kind of sciencey person I am, and also just wanting to try different things, I dove into some recordings. Once I started to see some of the differences in how I was presenting myself to others, then I looked into, she had a hypnotherapy school. So I went down that road. I worked on myself. Once I confirmed that this works, and, dabbled in a few different things, took breath work. That's where I kind of healed the anxiety and the panic attacks. So I was my own experiment. And that's what I encourage other people to do too, is you have to experiment what works for you, what resonates, what's good for you. So worked on myself. I started to work on my husband and my kids, and then brought it out to the community. And that's where we're at now.
That's awesome. So you've been there, you've done that yourself, and so you can really relate to any questions that people have. So we have a bunch of people live with us right now, 6 people live. If you have a question, put it in the chat for Jen. I'm gonna ask you a couple of the questions that I have, Jen, in the absence of other people asking questions. So this could be scary for somebody, like going into the unknown, going into the subconscious, and thinking about, what am I opening myself up to? Like a lot of, there are just a lot of people that have a lot of fear around this. So what can you say about how safe this is for somebody to go, protecting their field, or what are they going to be exposed to through a process like this? Like, what can you tell people who might have fear around going into hypnosis or doing any of these processes that you would recommend?
Sure. Yeah. So hypnotherapy has a kind of a bad rap, I would say. A lot of people think about hypnosis as mind control, or that when they go under that they're going to spill all their secrets, or that they're going to end up quacking like a duck or something like that. So it's not at all like that. It's not how media portrays it. Anything that you are wanting to work on, you have to be at a certain level to want to release it in the first place. So we do kind of a evaluation on if you're between a 0 and a 10 scale, like how much is this something that you really want to release? How much is this something that you want to go back and rewire? That being said, anything that you are going under for, you are in complete control, and you're not going to do anything that you don't want to do. So if this is something that, maybe you had a trauma in your past, but you don't want to relive it, you don't have to. It's going back to the emotion and not the event, like the actual being in the event. And that's what we get to release. That's what we get to take that charge off of. And when you start to do that and you start to peel back more of the layers, and it really opens yourself up to the true authentic self that you once were, that you deserve to be. There's a funny story, not a funny story. There is a story about this army that took over, I believe it was like a Tibetan Buddhist camp. And they were essentially looking for anything valuable to take away from the villagers. And anything that was not deemed as valuable, they would burn to the ground, or anybody that got in their way, they would, take out. Well, what the monks did is there was a golden Buddhist statue, and they covered it with mud and clay to make it look like it's not valuable. And so the army went past that. Now, just think about this as all of the programs, all of the things that have happened to you, you're constantly putting that clay, that mud over you, to your true golden authentic self underneath that's always been there. But we have built ourselves with walls and stuffed ourselves down so much. We just have to get back to where we're just chipping it off, getting back to our true authentic selves.
Yeah, I love that. And that's what there's so many ways to do that. And I recommend doing them in more than one way, So I teach human design, and you can look at your design, obviously, and understand where that conditioning and programming lives. Like I showed in Jen's chart, all the white, that's where it lives. There's a lot of potential conditioning and programming in those spaces. Why? Because they're receiving dishes. So all the information, it's information, but it's energy that's coming in from anyone that you've ever interacted with, and in the celestial weather, we call it, the transits, those are broadcasting all the time too. So the stuff that can get stuck, that stuff that could be blocking you, is most likely in those open spaces. So there's a lot of open spaces, in all of our charts, and that's really most likely where it lives. It doesn't necessarily, sometimes it helps to know where it lives, but working with somebody can really help you shift it. That's really what matters. But in terms of this work, like, there's a lot of aspects. So do what resonates with you, and we'll talk about, if you could share in a minute, Jen, a success story. Like, what does it look like? What is, tell us like a before and after in just a second. But I saw this comment from Cassie. Also, one other question. Do you have any advice regarding shifting fear out of our root chakra?
Well, fear, it doesn't have to live in one certain space. Yes, the root has a lot to do with our sense of security. So if you are doing things that your subconscious mind perceives to be as unsafe, it's going to hold you back. It is important to make sure that our chakras are open, yes. and that they are, spinning without resistance. The fear aspect of it, it's removing that charge more so, no matter where it lives. It's allowing your subconscious mind to be open so that it's not going to sabotage you if you try something new. Because part of like the subconscious thing, a part of why we might not take an action on something that we deem to be, something that would move the needle forward, move us forward in something, is because the subconscious mind knows everything that's happened in your past. You have lived up until this point, even if you're not comfortable, even if it's like, you hate the space that you're in right now. It knows that it was comfortable and safe and you are alive up until this point. So anything
it wants
that
to
you're
keep you
trying,
safe, right? Sorry to
yes,
interrupt you. Yeah.
yeah. So it's if you're trying to do something new and it doesn't know what's going to happen, like for instance, like we're looking at moving across country, and we don't know exactly where we're going to go yet, and we don't know what to do with the house yet, if we're going to sell it or if we're going to rent it. So that's very scary to my subconscious mind, because it doesn't know if we make a bad decision on the house, if we're going to lose money, or if we move out there, if we're going to move to a bad area. So there's a lot of resistance in the background of that. It gives you kind of like a tunnel vision, and you're not really opening yourself to all the different possibilities that might be coming in.
Yeah. So what I hear you saying is removing the charge is important, and being able to clearly receive the intuition and the insights that you are meant to receive is important. Jen, could you I know you have a big giveaway going on. We're going to get to that in just a second, and I have a link to share. Could you, and I also want to make an offer too. If you mentioned you're moving, I know so many people are moving right now. I have a new product called an environmental report. And so this is something that it tells you, based on your human design, where you are meant to be, what kinds of environments that you are most suited for. And it applies to like your on all levels, like your office space, your home space. Geographically, it tells you where kind of gives you insights into where you might want to visit or live, where you're going to be most comfortable in that space. So, I would, I'll share yours offline so we can talk a little bit about that. But if you're interested in this is a new product. I haven't advertised it yet. So if you're interested in that, let me know. And I'm going to put a link. Let's see. The link that you could do is, you could get a reading. If you get a reading this week, I'm going to offer that as a free thing. So if you get a reading, I'm going to give this as a bonus this week, the environmental report, because I haven't launched it formally yet, but it's available, and I can't wait to share it to you. And so I'll share with you yours after we get off, Jen, because I think it will help you to know where to move and stuff. It will give you some valuable insights. And we're going to get to the coach's toolkit in just a second. So could you just share a little bit about what does it look like to work with you before? What is a before and after? Like somebody who comes to you wants to remove blocks. They work with you, and then what happens? Like, what does their life look like before and after?
Yeah. So one of my most recent clients, she owns her own business, and she was in this state where she could possibly lose her business to, like, the income wasn't coming in. She wasn't having the confidence of going out there to talk to different people. I would say that she's in the healthcare hospitality business, but she wasn't going out and making the calls like she should. It was basically, she had a very big resistance and retraction to that. So a couple of contracts that she was working on to come in so that she could have the income in order to pay her people. And we were working together for about, I'd say about 4.5 months. And she was to the point where she was 2 days out from payroll. She had been floating her company because these contracts were not coming in yet. And 2 days from payroll, we got that release to where she took action and got the contract basically 2 days out from payroll, and then got another one right after. So it's essentially she saved her business and brought her income up to surpassing what she needed.
Wow.
And I just love that story. I mean, she's been in all areas just killing it now.
So that's significant. So just removing blocks. And how many sessions did she go through before she got that result?
So how I do my sessions is I'll do 2 coaching sessions and then 1 release a month, and then with supplemental breath work in between. So the breath work you can do as many times as you want. The journeys are a little bit longer, so not always the easiest thing to do frequently, but I suggest doing it like twice a month at least.
Awesome. Well, that's powerful. Yeah. What a great testimonial. What a great story. So thank you for helping us know what's possible. So if you feel blocked in your life, reach out to Jen. Here's the way that you can reach out to Jen. I know you've got this coach's toolkit that you're offering. It is available for just a couple more days. And when you use this link, that will give you a link to then she'll know that you came from this podcast or from this recording. We're streaming in multiple places. I want to get the word out because it's such a valuable toolkit, and the link to get your chart is in there as well. Jen, can you talk a little bit about what's in this toolkit and why would somebody want it, and what is involved in getting it?
Yeah, so I'm really excited about this toolkit because it is not only a gift from me, but it's 16 different coaches that are all giving away gifts. It's totally free to sign up for it. And it covers several different areas of life. We have people that are giving away gifts for health and fitness and wellness. We have people that are giving away strategies to help you find clients and processes in your business and business coaching. And then we have some people that are doing kind of the spiritual side. So Grace is one of the gift givers in the giveaway. And then we have some other people that are giving away meditations and readings. So it's all like, I feel like it's a very encompassing thing. And it also helps to really drive the needle for the end of the year, because a lot of the business owners, this is Q4. So we're all trying to get those results in before the end.
Absolutely. Yeah. So all that's involved is just click that link. I'll put the link in the show notes below in all these places, and rebrand.lee/Grace_Gravestock is how you could get there if you're just listening and you don't want to wait for the link if you're live. Thank you, Jen. It's such a pleasure to talk to you, to connect, to learn about your story, to learn about how to remove what's blocking me or you or us, all of us collectively. And I want to add, when we do work on ourselves, we are benefiting the collective, right? Can you talk briefly to that?
Yeah. So it has a ripple effect. Now, if you're working on yourself, and this is one thing that was really important to me, is that I didn't want my kids to grow up and think the same things about themselves that I was thinking about myself. I wanted them to be confident and for them to know that they could go out and do whatever they put their minds to. So when you start to work on yourself, even just somebody being in your field, being in your realm with you, in your environment, they're going to start to shift too. The way that you talk, that will become their inner talk. So when you start to have this effect on the people that are around you, then they go out into the world and they start to have that effect on other people. So there's a big big ripple effect with this. It's essentially making the world a better place. And we all need that, especially right now with the election and all of it's very much, one side versus the other. That's it's a lot of tumultuous things going on. So it's really important, especially right now, to do what you can to make this more of a understanding place, a more giving place. So make lives better, really, is what it comes down to.
Yeah, I wanted to highlight that because I know that we're all motivated in different ways. So some of us feel like it's enough to do the work for ourselves. And then some of us, especially for people pleasers, I think you mentioned that at the beginning, and about 50% of people in the world are people pleasers, according to your human design. It's in your chart, and I can show you what the purpose of it is. So it's not just a thing that you were, like, why did I get this curse? No, it's actually a huge blessing, and there's a lot of lessons in it and a lot of wisdom. But when you have that in your chart and you are a people pleaser, what it means is you tend to do things for other people before you do them for yourself. And so I wanted you to share about the ripple effect, because if you're listening and you're not the kind of person that's going to do it for you, maybe you'll do it for someone that you love, knowing that you're going to have a huge impact to the people around you when you clear your own blocks. Might be the motivation that you need to get this work done. Like, do the work, do the inner work. A lot of people just want the sizzle without the deep inner work, but this is what's required to make those shifts in your life, to move you from where you are to where you want to go. And this is an opportunity for you today to get Jen's coach's toolkit. And by getting that toolkit, you will also get in touch with her. You'll be able to get her emails. You'll be able to learn about her services. And you'll also be exposed to a lot of other powerful coaches, healers, teachers, and entrepreneurs who are aligned with this mission of the Know Yourself Revolution. Together, we can create a tipping point. We are creating a tipping point. So whether you understand frequency or not, whether you get that you're like a Wi-Fi signal walking around and that you broadcast to everyone that you come in contact with, and you also receive information. We need each other. We are connected. We are interconnected, and we are in community, whether we want to or not. That's why the ripple effect works. That's why we can help others when we help ourselves. So thank you for explaining that, Jen. Thank you for sharing these valuable insights of how to remove what's blocking you today. Thank you for living your purpose, leading by design, leading by example, with knowing, loving, and trusting yourself first, and living into your purpose of, literally, I'm reading it here, you are here to help others initiate the manifestation of their ideas, but encourage them first to complete anything that may be holding them back. I mean, if it's not clearer than that, I don't even know what is. She is here to remove blocks, to help you clear away what's holding you back from that vision of your life that you know is meant for you. And there's a reason why you see it in your mind's eye, because it's for you. You're meant to have that. You're meant to be, do, and have everything that you want to be, do, and have. It is in your field for a reason. And if you know that there's something holding you back and this resonates, please reach out to Jen. Get her coach's toolkit. That will get you in touch with her, and you'll get emails from her, and you'll understand more about how you might work with her. And you'll also be exposed to many other amazing folks that are all aligned with this idea of the Know Yourself Revolution, because together we are creating a tipping point. We are positively impacting 5 billion people by 2025. And through that, we are creating a tipping point in humanity through frequency. This is, and we change the frequency by changing ourselves and broadcasting something different into the field. So thank you for being here, Jen. I know we're at the top of the hour. Any last words that you would have for our listeners today?
First and foremost, trust yourself. I mean, if there's anything going on in the back of your head that you feel like you need to work on, just trust that you need to work on it, that you need to bring your attention to it, and don't stuff it down, because that's probably one of the biggest things that a lot of people come to me for, is because they're stuffing down. When you stuff down, it starts to live inside of your bodies, and it deserves to be released. So I really encourage you, trust yourself, allow it to be released, and allow yourself to, really give yourself grace.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for being part of the Know Yourself Revolution. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting. Thanks for hitting like and subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. Thanks for joining our Facebook group. If you haven't yet, check out our Facebook group, Know Yourself Revolution on Facebook. Join the community. And we also have an Alignment 365 Results Club. So that's another opportunity for you to get connected with other like-minded people. I think I'm having some glitches here. So we'll just go ahead and say thank you for being here. And thank you for doing your part. When you know, love, and trust yourself, you are making the difference you're meant to make. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, Grace.
Thanks, Jen.